Hello and welcome everybody to this Azure Synapse Espresso. I'm joined here today by Filip Popovic from the serverless SQL pool team, and we've got a treat for you today. We are going to talk about collation and what collation is and how it affects your performance and how you might sometimes get wrong results by not using the right collation. But first things first, Filip, what is collation?
Collation is a property of character data types in SQL that defines the way data is compared and sorted. So different languages have different characters and different order of characters within their alphabet. So, for example, in German language, you have umlauts, and obviously, when you want to sort the data for English data, then you do the sorting differently than how you do it when you do it for a German audience.
Okay, cool. So enough talk. Let's just see how it affects your query. So what happens if you use a different collation? So let's head over to your laptop.
So here we have an example of reading the same data set with the different collations. And I am using a default collation, which is not a UTF-8 collation, to read UTF-8 encoded CSV file. And let's check the results. So obviously I see that the umlauts that are characteristic for a German language have not been interpreted correctly. This is because we are reading UTF-8 encoded data with a non-UTF-8 collation. So if you're using a varchar column and reading UTF-8 data by using non-UTF-8 collation, you will get the wrong results. Basically, you will get these garbage characters. So you definitely need to use a proper UTF-8 collation. And here you see a query where I specify collation, UTF-8 collation for this column, and let's see the results. So here we see that umlauts are interpreted correctly and everything worked perfectly. Please keep in mind that if we use the nvarchar, then we would not get the wrong results because nvarchar is not sensitive to collation. It always uses UTF-8 encoding, or actually 2 or 4 bytes for each character.
Okay, cool. So I see that you now do this for one specific column. Is there a way to do this for all columns or on the database level?
Of course, instead of specifying collation on per column level, you can specify on a database level. In this case, I specified UTF-8 collation for my demo database, which means that any query that I execute where I do not explicitly specify collation for a data type will use UTF-8 collation, the default one on this database. There are objects that are already created, like views, external tables. The collation of the column is determined at the moment when you create the view or external table. So if you alter the default database collation, you need to recreate your objects to get the proper collation.
Okay, awesome. So basically, this means that we can get wrong results if we don't look at that correlation. But I think it also affects your performance, right? Because the correlation that you're going to choose, specifically when working with Parquet files, is going to impact the performance of your queries. Can you explain a bit about that?
Yes, character data types in Parquet are always stored as UTF-8 with encoding, which means that whenever you read from Parquet, you definitely need to use a proper UTF-8 collation. If you don't do so, you will either get wrong results, but also you will get worse performance. The reason is quite simple. There is a specific collation where filter pushdown works for Parquet files and the string columns. And let's see how that works. Here we have 2 queries. The first one does not specify a collation, meaning that it uses a default one, which is a non-UTF-8 collation. And here I have a second query, which actually uses a proper collation for a filter pushdown. So as you remember from our previous videos for row group elimination, there is a feature that allows us to skip the whole row groups if we see that the particular value does not belong to the between the minimum and the maximum values of a particular column in a row group. And this gives you a very good performance boost and also reduces your cost because less data will be scanned. So let's take a look at the results of these two queries. So we see that the first query scanned 593 megabytes and the other one scanned 136 megabytes. There is a difference because we use the different collation. In order to have filter push down on a parquet files, on a string columns, we need to use collation that we used in this demo. And as you see, using a proper collation resulted in a way less data scanned because we skipped a lot of row groups. Obviously, filter push down is working, which means that the query is much faster and processed less data, meaning that it costs you less.
Thank you a lot, Philip. So basically, we can take 1/5 of our time for this specific query just by specifying the right collation type. So really check that the collation type that you're using for your database is correct, especially when you're filtering on string fields. Now, if you liked our video, just give us a big thumbs up. And if this is the first time visiting and you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Or if you have any questions or you want to see some other content, just type it in the comments and we'll respond to you or maybe even make a video about it. Thank you very much and hope to see you in the next one. Bye.